Hi everyone, good evening. I hope you're able to hear me and you're able to see my screen. So today we are going to discuss about Python development and what kind of opportunities that you can have in the market. So this is Lakshmi Narayanan representing Programming Up to clarify queries that you might have related to this career prospects in Python. So I have created few questions which can help me to drive this conversation in a structured way, and we are going to discuss those questions. And while I'm discussing those questions, if you have any queries, if you have any views, please use the chat window and quickly respond. That would give me a fair idea of what kind of questions you have in your mind, and I will answer them too. To begin with, I'll introduce myself. I'm Lakshmi Narayanan, and I've got nearly around 18 years experience in the market. So I am part of the global automation team for an engineering services company. I take care of implementations of analytics, AI, and different technologies to automate solutions. So I worked with different consulting firms like PwC, Deloitte prior to taking up the current role. And I also enjoy teaching. I'm a visiting faculty with a few business schools over the weekends. Business schools like IIM Lucknow, IIM Calcutta, IIM Amritsar, where I teach artificial intelligence for solving business problems. So looking forward to an interactive session over the next 1 hour, and feel free to post any questions that you might have. Good. Time for us to move on. Let's start with a very simple question. Why Python development? Because there are so many tools that are available in the market. Obviously, there will be a question in your mind like why you would like to choose Python. R versus Python. That's always a debate that we have in the market. So it doesn't matter which one you have picked up, but I would always say that Python is preferable. If you have picked up Python, that's great. R is equally good, but there are certain features that are going to help us to deliver Python or to get best benefits out of Python. So why is Python very popular for development? This is something you should be aware of. The first one is ease of learning and readability. Python is something, the syntax is very clear and readable, so it is an easy language for beginners, and it is also straightforward, and the concise syntax that it provides allows developers to actually focus on problem solving rather than dealing with the complex syntax problems while creating programs. So this is the first advantage, and of course versatility is always kind of an advantage which Python carries. When I say versatile, it's a language that is versatile for wide range of applications. It's just not used for AIML, for which it has been popularly known for, but right from web development to data analysis to machine learning to automation to scientific computing, there are so many use cases that you can have for Python. And its extensive standard library and vast ecosystem of the third party libraries, that's what has made Python popular, actually makes it suitable for almost any programming challenge that you might have. Any problem you want to solve, Python is the best one for you to use and solve that problem. Why? Because community and support. Python has a large active community of open source developers who continuously contribute for its growth and development. They come up with innovative solutions, they write libraries, they create extensive documentations, tutorials, they answer queries in the forums for you, and they create a lot of resources which makes you as a developer to get any kind of help and support whenever you need it. And thanks to the rich ecosystem of libraries and the frameworks that all these open source developers have created, it actually helps you to accelerate the development process. Let's take the example of web development. Django and Flask are widely used for web development, and it's created by open source community developers. Same way, libraries like NumPy, Panda, TensorFlow, all these are contributions by open source community, which is helping you to do data analysis faster and develop machine learning models faster. And if you're a Python developer, you know this. cross-platform compatibility. Python is a cross-platform language. That is, you can run Python code on any platforms, any operating systems without making any modifications. This actually makes it easier for you to write code that can be deployed on any platforms like Windows, Mac OS, or even Linux. That's another advantage. And last but not least, scalability of this model. The Python language is always scalable. It allows you to start small and continuously keep on writing lines of code and develop the complex applications. Whether you're building a small script or a large scale web application, Python can simply handle it. And of course, considering all these benefits that you've got, don't you think if you know Python, the job opportunities are going to be plenty? That's the reason, if you notice in the market, you have high demand across industries for these reasons that I quoted in the last 2-3 minutes. So learning Python always opens up a wide range of job opportunities in fields such as software development, data science, machine learning, web development, all the areas that I spoke about. Everywhere Python is going to ensure that you're getting the best job, because it's simple, it's versatile, it's extensive ecosystem, and the kind of strong community support that you get helps you to accept Python as a language, as well as helps you to get a job in this developer community. I hope that gives you a broad area of how Python can be used. Please put across your questions in the chat. That would always help. Python developer salary for beginners. Yes, that keeps range depending on the company, depending on the area that you have chosen to work for, depending on the complexity of the projects and the applications that you have developed earlier. There are a lot of opportunities that you get in this space. I would say that developer salary ranges from definitely 8 to 10 lakhs as a starting package. Of course, depending on startup or the Fortune 500 company that you're working for, and it goes up to 1.5-2 crores. And I'm sure you would have noticed that if you're getting hired in bigger companies like FANG kind of companies, like Facebook, Amazon, Netflix kind of companies, obviously the salaries are on a higher side. Okay, so that would give you a fair idea. Now let me talk about the kind of companies that hire Python developer. Okay, do you think all companies need Python developers? What do you think? Of course, there are a lot of opportunities. Maybe I'll just slightly start with this. Where do you think the Python can be applied? The moment I explain this, you will get a fair idea of which are the companies or what kind of companies the opportunities may exist. Because it's more about understanding where Python is used that can give you an idea of where if Python is used in these situations, you will know which companies are using Python for these reasons. So I'll start with this. The most prominent use case for Python is web development. So to develop web application tools, Python is extensively used. That's where the frameworks like Django, Flask, Pyramid, these are the popular choices for developing web applications. And these frameworks provide tools and libraries which help you to build a secure web application. So any company which is into web app development, Python is a skill that they would look for. Data science and data analysis is the second area where Python is dominant. I'm sure today when you speak about AI ML, when you speak about data science applications or even data analysis for that matter, you will see that Python developers are definitely being hired in these projects. So getting into these roles, you need skills like exposure to NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn kind of libraries for manipulating the data, visualizing the data, analyzing the data. Of course, you would have developed it with the help of Jupyter notebooks and other areas which commonly used for interactive data exploration and analysis. So web development is one area where extensively it's used. Now Python is also used for data science and data analysis. So machine learning and AI is another space where, apart from whatever that I told you, the basic data analysis techniques, we also get to use TensorFlow, PyTorch, scikit-learn, Keras. These are some of the tools that you may need to know. These are some of the areas that you should get experience in if you want to get into this space of AI using Python development. So these are the three broad areas. And the fourth one is automation and scripting. So many tasks can be automated with the help of Python scripts. So since we have huge library, varied library that is available, it's well suited for tasks like file manipulation, system administration, web scraping. I'm sure you'd have heard of this famous library, Beautiful Soap. So in these domains, definitely Python is used. Again, Python developers are hired in this domain. And gaming, a very popular industry for all of us, isn't it? That's one space where again Python is used across, either for prototyping or for even building complete games. There are libraries like Pygame, for example, which gives you tools and resources for developing 2D games. And there are engines like Panda 3D and Godot, which support the development of more complex 3D games. So this is there, and again, game development is a niche space. You need to have a stronger understanding of Python to be successful in this domain. Then desktop GUI applications, I would say that again, there is a huge potential in this space where you as a developer, if you believe that you have got exposure to frameworks like Kinter, PyQt, WX Python, because these are tools for building cross-platform GUI applications with Python. If you have got exposure in these areas, then you can develop desktop graphical UI interface applications. So desktop GUI application is another area that you can easily target here. And web scraping and crawling is the last one. As I told you, Beautiful Soup kind of libraries, if you've got exposure, then you can build a lot of smaller applications in this domain. Because a lot of companies today, if you notice, they're looking for scraping data from different things. E-commerce companies, they are looking for automation in this domain. Again, Python developers can play a role in this area. So what I told you are just few examples where Python can be applied. So any company which is using these set of applications where you believe that this would play a role, definitely would be hiring for a Python developer. Okay. Now, having said that, I just want you to get exposure to the other side. Like which companies hire Python developer? This is a real question that I wanted to answer for. But with this exposure of where Python is used, you would have got a fair idea. I've given you a broad framework of what companies you can target. But now let me take some specific use cases in specific companies where Python hiring is extensive. I'll start with Google. The FANG company is what we call it as. Google uses Python extensively for web development, system administration, automation also, and even for AI/ML data science models, Google is using Python. Take any products of Google, YouTube, GCP, that is Google Cloud Platform, Google Search, Google Lens, which is computer vision, again uses Python. All these tools are powered by Python. But of course, if you want to get into this space, you need to have a lot of other skills, which I will slowly address about. You not only Python would help you here. Of course, you need database management skills, data structures and algorithms. You need to have broader exposure on that side. Then Facebook is the next company that I would say, which relies on Python for various purposes. Again, for web development, data analysis, and even AI/ML. But apart from that, for even for infrastructure management, that is managing multiple cloud servers, Python is used across. And take products like Instagram, Facebook Messenger. Don't you think they use Python? Yes, of course they do use that. The third one is Amazon. So just like Facebook and Google, they are also using them for automation, then data science models, data analysis and stuff. AWS is using it. Alexa is using it. And they're all using it for managing their infrastructure as well as building AI/ML models on top. Netflix is using it. Their recommendation the algorithms are running on Python. Content delivery whole infrastructure is built on Python. Then Microsoft is using it. Visual Studio Code, Azure notebooks that are working on Python. The whole cloud services are running on Python in a way. Dropbox, Spotify, Instagram. Instagram, I don't know how many of you know this. It's primarily built using Python with the help of the Django framework for the backend services. So all these companies are using Python to a greater extent. And anyone interested to work for NASA here? NASA is a dream company for many people, right? Like ISRO, we have NASA. NASA uses Python for scientific computing, data analysis, setting up simulations, and for various exploration, space exploration projects, they're using it for automation tasks. So all the companies are using it. To add few more companies, I would say that Uber is using it, Reddit is using it, Pinterest is using it. All of them are using Python in one form or the other. Ranging from smaller startups to bigger enterprises, companies are using Python. They hire Python developers for a wide range of projects and the roles. The projects that I spoke about, the areas that I spoke about, plenty of work is being done in these companies with the help of Python. So learning Python, becoming an expert in Python is something which can open up opportunities across all these companies. I hope that gives you a fair idea of the opportunities that exist in the Python space for you. Any questions you have, feel free to put it across in the chat. I hope you're able to hear me loud and clear since it's an online session. I just wanted to take a quick confirmation. If there are any challenges or something, put it in the chat. I would be able to quickly sort it out for you. And feel free to ask questions anytime. Now, moving on, this is a question that I always face, like how to gain experience in Python development before the first job. A very natural concern, I would say. A lot of freshers who are doing the course, who are being mentored by me in this space, they always ask this question like, sir, I've got great experience. I've understood what Python is. I've got exposure to the complete development. I've done a lot of programs. But the problem is people are asking for experience. How can I show experience or how can I get experience? Without landing in the job, I wouldn't be able to gain experience. But without experience, I'm not able to land in the job. It's a chicken and egg story, right? How are we going to break this vicious cycle? So I'll give you some tips which has worked out for my mentees. So I would suggest the same for you to follow. How can you gain some bit of experience which you can showcase across in your resume, which can help you to have a structured path towards getting into a Python job? So what can you do here? Maybe I'll put it this way. Yes, every company looks for experience. Just by just claiming that I've done a course in programming up or I've learned Python, I know Python as a programming language, just by claiming this in the resume, you're not going to get a job, no doubt. I don't think that's the right way also. Like today, when I conduct interviews, the first step that I go through the resume is I look at certain sections. Like first of all, is a person knowing Python or not? That's a skill that I want to see. I check that out. If it is in the skill section that the person knows Python, then obviously the next set I would understand is what are the kind of libraries or the frameworks that the person is exposed to. If the person says that yes, I have got exposure to matplotlib or some libraries related to data science, so I'll come to the conclusion like, oh, this guy is an AIML person. So if I hire him as a Python developer, I can use him for AIML development. If the person claims that he knows Django, Flask, then I will say that, okay, this person has got experience in web development. If I hire him as a Python person, he can work in this space. So skill section is the first thing that I would check. The next section is projects. A very, very underrated section. Not everybody is using Python, I mean, this particular project section of the resume in a proper way. People do not understand that project is one of the best ways to showcase what they have done in this particular domain. So my request would be like, as a first step, do more and more projects. So in our programming up course, we are consciously building 100 projects that you can do in Python. And of course, it's an exercise that we have been doing for some time. Like try to see right from the beginner projects to the complex projects in the area that you have chosen, like web development or data science, whichever area. Try to pick up those projects and showcase it. Don't worry about how complex it is, but important point is it's all about writing what kind of stuff that you have done in that particular project. So I'll break the problem into two. First one is doing, second one is projecting. Are you doing the right projects? If you go to Kaggle, if you're interested in AI/ML data science space, Kaggle provides a lot of data sets for you. Kaggle provides a lot of gaming competitions for you. Are you participating in everything? If you're participating, when you're solving those problems, are you putting it across in your resume? So first step is participate. First step is do projects. Second step is updating your resume with that. And my humble suggestion would be like the people whom I hire generally, they have at least 4 to 5 projects, solid projects which they can mention in the resume. And if you're really smart, you should have projects in different areas. Like for example, if you're applying for an AIML job, Python developer for that, try to showcase one project on data analysis, like how you have used pandas, how you have done data analysis, what kind of interesting insights you have got. That's one project. Second project is try to talk about visualization that you have done, how you have visualized the data using different libraries, how you are able to drive it. So that is something you can put it across. That's another area. So for every area, try to put one project at least. So the interviewer, when they are addressing your questions, they will get a fair idea of like, oh, these are the 4 or 5 areas that this candidate has worked on. And when they start asking questions, you'll be able to demonstrate all these areas. And this is where your expertise comes in, right? So this is where your confidence also comes in. Many a times we lack confidence in updating our experience in the resume. It may not be 100% corporate experience. Understand something like what is experience here? Experience is more about taking a particular concept and applying it in the real world. That's what experience is. As long as you have taken a real world problem statement and you have applied it, that's good enough. So be it academic project or live project, it doesn't matter. But live projects are always respected. I'm not denying it. I'll come to the live project as a second part. But at least first step, my suggestion is whatever projects that you have done as part of the course, please update them properly in your resume so that it stands out. Your profile stands out. That's number one. Number two is live project. So when I say live project is all about joining some startup or volunteering, doing a pro bono work for somebody and gaining experience. Okay, gaining experience in a particular domain, trying to solve the problem. So, for example, I have done some projects for this for some startups just to gain experience in AI. I used to approach them through LinkedIn. I used to ask them like, "Sir, this is the kind of work I would like to do. I'm ready to do free of cost." And they give me data sets. I play around, I analyze that, and then I make a presentation to them, talking to them like how I was able to find some solution for the problem. So this is called live project. That is, you have taken a real world problem and you have solved it. This is another important thing. And all you need is a simple live project certificate from the company. Just request them to send a mail. That is also good enough that you have worked in this particular thing so that you can justify that you have done a project for a company and you're able to update it in your resume. So doing a project academically or doing a project or a live project for a company, both are very, very important. In fact, second one has more weightage to it, but that is tough to do, no doubt about it. But this is where your skills come into picture. And this is also an opportunity for you to connect with more and more people to check whether they can support you by giving a free project. And I always say this, this is coming from my personal experience. My mentees have always picked up the skill of doing free work for the first 2 or 3 times to gain that experience and put it across their resume. And once they have a solid experience to showcase, post that you can start making money by providing the consulting on the same topic. But first few steps, it's always about gaining that experience. So I hope this gives you an idea of how to gain experience. So please put across your questions in the chat. If you're not able to understand anything that I have mentioned, I'm happy to answer it for you. Moving on. So I was talking to you about different sections in the resume, right? I told you about the skills section. I told you about the project section. In fact, maybe I'll just add a quick point on the projects, which I missed it out. When you're presenting the project, what is important is you need to talk about the areas that you have worked. That's something I told you earlier, like web development or data science. In which area you have done the project. That's something you have to highlight in that bullet point in your resume. And apart from that, I also want you to talk about the libraries and the frameworks that you have used while doing the project. That's second important thing. The third one is the functional area or the business problem that you are trying to solve with the help of Python. That's the third thing that I want you to showcase. If you're able to showcase all these things, the project looks like a holistic one. Because what kind of people would be hired first? I'll give you an example. You are a pure play developer who is good in development, but you do not understand business. This is one candidate, let's say. The other candidate is good in development and is also able to understand how this development is solving business problems. So there are two candidates, candidate one who understands only technology, candidate two who understands technology and business. If both are sitting for the interview, whom will you hire? I'm sure you will hire the second person because technology is just a tool to solve the business problem. So if you're not able to solve the business problem with the help of, if you're not able to get a perspective of what business problem I'm going to solve with the help of technology, then what is the use of using technology? So being a pure play developer doesn't help. You need to have a clarity like how it is solving business problem and showcase that in your resume. This is where your experience also gets reflected. So this project, this was the problem I was trying to solve using these frameworks, and this is the impact I could create with the help of the project that I've done for the company, or from the learning point of view, you can present it. If you do this, your experience comes out very evidently in your resume. So I hope that gives you a clarity of how you can write a good experience in your CV. Now I'll move on to the next one. So what you're seeing on the screen, like the top 7 project certifications or Python certifications that you can do in Python, which can actually boost your CV, which can help you get shortlisted for companies. I know this is not an easy question because many people ask this question like, is there a certification in Google? Is there a certification in Python? First of all, that's a very broad question that I get from a lot of people. I always say this: certifications are a way to establish the credibility about your skill in your resume before you sit for the placements. If you're getting two resumes, one resume has a certificate, the other resume does not have a certificate. Both are keeping Python as a skill. Then automatically the human tendency is to have a feeling that okay, the person with the certificate is having more skill compared to the other one. This is human tendency, right? Day in day out we are looking at more number of CVs. So obviously this is something we are going to pursue. So my suggestion is always do some certifications. Of course, there are few certifications which I will talk about, but it's always good to build those certifications and update in your resume. Okay, while I answer this, I quickly see a question in the chat: how to get a job in Google. I'm coming there. I'm going to talk about the skills that you need to sit for Google and get your job there. Okay, I just addressed a bunch of Google employees just before this webinar. Okay, I'll talk about this shortly, like how to get a job in Google. Okay, now coming back to this question, like what are the Python certifications that I can do? So as I told you, Python certification is for establishing your credibility, demonstrating your proficiency and expertise in Python language. But I wouldn't say it is mandatory to get a job. I mean, to get a job, it is mandatory to do a certificate. I would not put it that way. But definitely, doing a certification can boost your CV, can increase your credibility as a Python developer. So, what are the certifications that you can do? First one, I'm sure you would have heard of this institute called as Python Institute. They provide some certifications like Python Certified Associate Programmer, Python Certified Professional Programmer. These are all some certificates available from the Python Institute. In fact, Python Certified Associate Programmer is an entry level one. Okay. This is an entry level certificate which validates basic programming skills. So whatever you have learned as the basics like data types, variables, for loops and everything. So those are the things that are covered here. So if you're a beginner, if you have learned Python only now, then please pick up the certificate. This would be easy for you to clear. Python Certified Associate Programmer. Okay, so that's the first certificate I would suggest. The second one is Python Certified Professional Programmer. This is for slightly more experienced people. It actually gives you, I mean, it actually tests, evaluates your advanced programming skills, which includes software design and development. So this is also something you can try if you have got more experience in Python. This is something that can add more value to your resume. So these are two certificates that have come from Python Institute, and that would definitely help you to showcase your Python skills. The next one is Microsoft certification. So there is something called as Python for Data Science, and this certification from Microsoft, it actually demonstrates proficiency in using Python for data analysis, data visualization like Matplotlib, Seaborn kind of libraries, machine learning, and other data science tasks that you can do with Jupyter notebooks and libraries like Panda, NumPy. Are you able to use all these things well? So this is what Microsoft checks through the certification Python for data science. Maybe this is also something that you can try. This is Microsoft certification. The third one is CISSP. Some of you may be interested in information security, information system security, which is coming out in a big way in the recent days, like because with so much of data generated by every company, is the data secure? Is the system secure within the organization? That's a big question. So this may not be an exclusive Python certification, I would say, but this CISSP actually has a module which talks about the secure software development, okay, which covers secure coding practices in Python. So it's actually beneficial for Python developers who are interested in security related roles. So this is a certification you can choose if you're interested in security related roles. The fourth one is certified TensorFlow developer. This is primarily on the deep learning part. If you're using TensorFlow, then this is a certificate I would recommend for you. It's offered by TensorFlow. This actually tests you how much you have understood TensorFlow, how well you're able to build models using this framework. A simple machine learning open source framework that is available, that's TensorFlow. So how are you able to connect it with Python for developing and deploying machine learning models? This is what is tested in this particular certificate, TensorFlow developer. The next one is Django developer. I told you if you're interested in web development, this is a certificate I would strongly recommend because Django is a popular Python web framework. And certifications in Django development usually test you on building web applications using Python, using Django framework. Of course, this is where your expertise comes on web development. And especially if you want to call yourself as a experienced or expert web developer, this certification can add value from that point of view. And we have certified OpenStack administrator. And I'm sure you would have heard of OpenStack. This is an open source cloud computing platform. Okay, which I mean, and this certification actually evaluates how strong you are in administrating OpenStack environments. So primarily, if you're interested in scripting, automation, and where you have used Python primarily for automation and scripting purposes, then OpenStack Administrator is something that you can try. And Kubernetes, that's the last one. Have you heard of Kubernetes? Have you worked on Kubernetes? That's another popular certificate that is available. So it's not specific to Python, this particular certificate, but actually this certification demonstrates your proficiency in deploying, managing, and even maintaining applications on Kubernetes. So which again talks about scripting and automation with Python. Okay. Of course, these are all different certifications that are available, but I would put it this way. This is primarily important from this point of view, depending on which area you would like to work for. You would like to work for on the automation space or web development space or data science AIML development space. Depending on the area, you can choose any one of these certificates and do that. So as I told you, automation scripting means OpenStack, web development means Django. Then if you're Just talking about, I mean, I want to be a general Python developer across many areas means the first two certifications that I spoke about, including the Microsoft one. And if you want to be specialized in data science, then my suggestion is go for TensorFlow developer kind of certificates that would help you to build your skills. Good. I hope this gives you a broad idea of what certifications you can do. I've deep dived into each of these areas so that you get a better perspective. I hope this helps. Now, there is a question from Cressy. I'm in Salesforce development with 3 years of experience. I'm looking to switch, but right now it is hard to get a job. I understand, Cressy, it's not easy. It's going to be tough. I definitely get that. So, this is where I would suggest you this. I always say this, like, the moment you have got 2 3 years of experience, so I do not want you to waste your skills that you have acquired on the Salesforce side. You should look at how you can complement the Python as a skill on top of your Salesforce skill. Let's say, for example, Salesforce, you have Einstein Analytics, which has come up in a big way. So can you look at Einstein Analytics? Can you look at how you can get into the data science space using Einstein Analytics in Salesforce? Because positioning yourself into the analytics space, AI space is the first step that you have to do. Then slowly from there, you can make use of your Python skills to switch into generic model development on the AI space. So my request, Cressy, Salesforce, now start developing some kind of applications on the Einstein Analytics. That's one option that I would say. But if you're okay to take a complete plunge into the Python side, then whatever I suggested in the last two questions, like build your project portfolio, create a GitHub portfolio, put across all your code, get everything ready for you, showcase it across in your resume. Like these are the 4 or 5 projects across these areas that you have worked on, along with your Salesforce. Of course, Salesforce data is something which is available. The pipeline data. I myself have done a project on top of Salesforce. Looking at the pipeline opportunities data, we have built a machine learning model on predicting which opportunities the salespeople have to work on, have to focus on. So Salesforce as a CRM, we were able to do that. So my suggestion is please try that and build some applications on top of Salesforce so that you look like a Salesforce plus AI person so that you can get jobs in this market easily. I hope that answers your question, Cressy. Good. I just need a quick response in the chat. Now, moving on. Somebody was asking, like IG Nerd was asking this question, like, how do I get a job in Google? Everyone's dream is to work in this FANG companies, right? Maybe I'll post this as a question. What is FANG? Anyone? What is the full form of FANG? Thank you, Cressy, for the confirmation. Anyone likes to say what is FANG? I'll quickly answer. FANG is Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. These are the companies. Now, all of us, if you want to get into a kind of a 6-digit number as a salary, if you want to earn in dollars, if you want to get our best jobs in North American market, then we need to have certain skills to get into these kind of companies like FANG. So we need a strong combination of not just the technical skills, that is the development of in Python. We need to have problem solving abilities and also excellent soft skills, because these companies do not just test your technical knowledge. You need to showcase how well you're able to solve the problem, how well you're able to interact with others, are able to articulate the problem well and explain it well to others. So these are some of the skills that these companies expect. Maybe I'll just identify the top 10 skills for you so that you're able to get that. Okay, thanks, Gracie. Yes, FANG refers to those companies. I'll just talk about what kind of skills are needed to get into such high-end jobs in the market, because very few people get this opportunity to work in these FANG companies. But of course, it's not complicated. If you're able to prepare in a structured way, uh, acquiring all the skills that you're seeing on the screen, then getting into FANG is not tough. The first thing that you need is a strong proficiency in Python. You're just not another normal developer in Python. You should know the language fundamentals, know the syntax, data structures, hoops concepts like how are these principles applied, the built-in libraries that you've got. All these things are needed to showcase that you know Python really well. The expertise is really good on the Python side. This is the first basic skill, because the moment you call yourself as a Python developer, this is something that is expected of you. They may ask you to write a program in the interview, like a complex program, like create a tic-tac-toe game or something like that. They may ask you to create that, and you should be in a comfortable position to write that program and create an algorithm to solve that. That's very, very important. Number one skill, Python proficiency. The second one is data structures and algorithms. I know this is something which was a scary subject for during our engineering days. Especially if you have studied computer science and IT, many people run out of classrooms when they study this particular course, data structures and algorithm. But to get into these farm companies, we need a strong in-depth understanding of fundamental data structures like arrays, linked list, trees, decision trees, graphs. We need to have a good understanding of this. And even algorithms for that matter, the sorting algorithms, the search algorithms, the dynamic programming. So we need to know the time and space complexities. All these aspects we should have a picture so that we can call ourselves as well versed with DSA, data structures and algorithms. Many a times in interview you are tested in this space, because this is where the real complexity comes in. And if you're able to answer in this space comfortably, then you will get a job in Fang easily. That's the second part. That's the second skill. The third skill is web development. As I told you, if you're getting into web development space, this is a skill, because when you're developing web applications, you should have a good grip on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, APIs, Django, Flask frameworks. All these things you should have a good idea. If you have got strong expertise in this space, then web development is a skill that you already have. It's easy for you to get into that. Next is database management. I know that database management, when you say it is it sounds easy, because the first thing that comes to our mind is SQL, correct? So SQL is an important skill, no doubt about it. That's a skill that we all use. But I would slightly touch upon structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, the different types of data that we have got. How do we handle big data when all these types, volumes, and everything come into picture? That's what is a database management skill. So here you should be familiar with relational databases like MySQL, Postgre. All these things you should be having familiarity, and also on the NoSQL databases like, for example, MongoDB. So you should have some exposure towards all these things. If you have got good exposure, if you have got good exposure to SQL queries, then yeah, database management is a skill that you already have acquired. So I know, I mean, I'm talking about multiple skills to get into this company, but I would say I'd put it this way: master of, jack of all trades and master of one. That's what is the key thing that you need to have if you want to get into these companies. You should cover the breadth of all the skills that I'm talking about, and you should be specialized in one. Usually, like DSA is something that I would suggest if you want to get into this space. Now, moving on, fifth one, software design and architecture. This is about design aspect. How are you able to convert the problem into a scalable design solution? Your ability to design scalable, maintainable, and efficient coding, software architecture you're able to create with the help of design patterns, the solid principles, what we call it as, and even microservices architecture. If you're able to bring all these things, then you're really good in software design. That's a skill. And to complement all these skills, I would say that you need version control systems like exposure to Git. For example, these are some of the tools that we use in these companies for collaborative software development, like branching, merging, and resolving conflicts. Have you got exposure to this? That's something is a skill. I wouldn't say it's an important skill. This is something you can acquire after joining the company also. But yeah, exposure to these kind of tools would always help. Then debugging and testing. I know it sounds like a silly skill, it sounds like a basic thing, but many of my candidates have lost it in this space because it's a skill that comes from experience. Debugging is a skill that comes from experience. So you need to create skills in the space. You have to understand the testing methodologies, like how people test it, like unit testing, integration testing, user acceptance testing, then SIT, system integration testing, and different testing frameworks like PyTest, for example. Have you got exposure to all these things? At least read the Wikipedia page of all these things to be prepared for questions in this space. So that's there. Then coming to the eighth one, data analysis and machine learning. As I told you earlier, here it's more about data analysis concepts. How well you have understood, got data analysis as a skill and are able to use your libraries like NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, even frameworks like PyTorch, TensorFlow. Are you using all these things to solve your problems, to build your models? If you have got that, then that's a skill that we are talking about here. Cloud computing, I need not tell you. Today, all the models are being built on cloud. So, have you got good exposure to data engineering? What we generally call it as building data warehouses, enterprise data lakes. Have you got exposure to all these things? And when things are moved to cloud, how much you're able to manage the infra on cloud, like AWS, Azure, GCP? Are you able to manage the infra better? Are you able to deploy and manage applications in different cloud environments? That's a skill that you need to have. This is a complementary skill which is well appreciated in the corporate world. So please acquire that skill too. And last one is problem solving and critical thinking. I'm sure all of us have it in the resume that we have problem solving skill, but this is an underrated skill. Like how well you're able to break the problem into smaller pieces, how well you're able to solve them, how well you're able to create a solution to address most of the issues. Your ability to analyze complex problems, your ability to break the bigger problem into small manageable tasks and then propose effective solutions, especially under tight guidelines. If you're able to do this, that's what is called as problem solving skills. So all these are technical skills in a way. Whatever I told you are all hard skills that are needed for you to get a job in Fang. Other than this, all these companies evaluate candidates and judge them basis on how they demonstrate their communication skill, their teamwork, adaptability, how quickly you are able to change, how well you are ready to learn and innovate in a new environment. That's something which is very important for these companies. What we call it as a cultural fit. So, are you a good cultural fit for my company? That's a question that these companies would test by asking different scenario based questions in the interview. Now, having said all these things, again, I'll go back to the foundation. The first step is to get a shortlist for an interview in these companies. So, where do you start? A good resume, a good CV. So, you need to build a strong portfolio of projects. How much you contribute to open source projects. If you're able to do something on that side, please highlight it in your resume. And important, another thing that I missed out, coding hackathons. Are you regularly participating in coding hackathons? There are so many hackathons happening in the market. Please be part of different WhatsApp groups, LinkedIn groups, and other things to understand what are the different hackathons happen. Can you be part of those hackathons? Because participating and winning in these hackathons increases your chance exponentially to get a job in any one of these fund company or any one of the top companies. So contributing to open source project, winning an hackathon, doing a live project, creating a portfolio of projects, creating a repository in GitHub and having a solid portfolio, all these things are very, very important for you to get into a job in Fang. I hope this gives you a broad perspective of how you can get into these kind of companies. Hi Kabir, welcome. So if you have any questions while we are discussing, please put it on the chat. Thank you, Avi Driver, for the compliment. Now I'll move on to the next one. Top 5 must-have projects in your Python development portfolio. I told you about portfolio, right? Creating a solid portfolio for you to showcase and highlight it. That's something which is an important skill that you need to have. But when I talk about portfolio, so I'm not going to get into specific projects like, oh, do this Titanic project, to do this IBM HR attrition analytics project. I'm not going to give you any specific projects because I will leave it to you. I mean, honestly speaking, from my experience, when I conduct interviews, I'm not worried about what kind of projects you have done. For me, what is more important is what is the breadth that you have covered? What is it that you have done which is helping me to get a better perspective of how you have done your work? Which areas you have done your project on? How well you are able to explain those projects? What is the problem statement that you are trying to cover? Which are the technical skills that you are able to apply to solve that problem? These are the things that I would like to learn from you when you are explaining the projects in your portfolio during the interview. So, from that point of view, I just would like to quickly talk about which are the areas that you should have in your resume. Of course, it depends on the developer, which area you would like to find your job. I already spoke about different areas across which you can find your job, but I still would reiterate that these are the 5 project ideas that you can have in your portfolio. The first project, I would say that please do something on web application. So create a web application using a simple Python framework like Django or Flask. It can be anything. The project can be on anything, right from setting up a simple blog or even to-do list app, like to-do list set of activities, or it can be to a complex e-commerce platform or a social networking site. You can develop anything. As I told you, simple blog to a complex social media platform. You can do anything. But please do one project where you can explain, like where you can demonstrate that you have got experience in Django, Flask, and other areas. The goal here is you need to implement the CRUD operations, what we call the CRUD operations, user authentication, and how you have integrated with multiple databases. So if you're able to showcase these skills, that shows that, oh, you have understood the space, you have tried it out, you know the challenges that might come up, and that's where the experience stands out. Okay, so first project that I would recommend for your portfolio is developing a web application using Django or Flask. Now coming to the second one, data analysis project where visualizations can be used. So in Python, of course, you can have few applications like collecting and analyzing data using libraries like matplotlib, seaborn, numpy, pandas. So with these libraries, are you able to explore data sets, are able to perform statistical analysis, are able to visualize insights using charts, graphs, interactive dashboards. If you're able to do all these things, that means you have got data analysis as a skill using Python. Now, I always feel this skill is very important. There are 2 skills that I'm talking about. One is Python exposure and expertise. The other one is data analysis as a skill. When you receive some data points, how are you able to analyze that data? The descriptive statistics, the inferential statistics that we talk about, are you able to apply all those things? How well you're able to analyze and derive those insights from the data is a skill by itself. If you're able to create a project around this is where Kaggle data sets and other things can help you out. Pick up any Kaggle problem. All these, I mean, you have so many ready-made projects available in the market. If you just search for it in GitHub, you'll get that. But my point is pick it up, explore, try, learn, and then put it across in your resume. That's important. If you're able to showcase, this is where your profile will stand out. So this is data analysis and visualization area. The third area is AI project. Of course, this is where you would like to work, most of you. So can you build a machine learning or AI project using Python libraries like TensorFlow, PyTorch, as I was telling you earlier, or scikit-learn, for example? So where you train the model on the data set, deploy a predictive model, or even you can create a chatbot or create a computer vision project. That is also something that you can do. So image classification, object detection, you can choose the area that you want in AI, like machine learning, computer vision, NLP. You can choose the area and develop a solution. This can something help you out to stand out again. That's the third part. Automation, I already told you Python is predominantly used in automation. So can you write some scripts to automate any kind of a repetitive task or a process? It can be as simple as automating file management task, web scraping, as I told you, like beautiful soap kind of libraries you can use, system administrative task. I mean, if you choose finance and HR in your company, there are so many tasks that can be automated. Can you check them out whether you can do something? Or create a chatbot using NLP. Again, that is automation, isn't it? That is also something that you can try. And fifth one is API development project. I know API is not something very directly related to Python, but this is an interesting space with the kind of architectures that are being designed in the world. Building an API using Python, and if you're able to use frameworks like Flask or Django REST framework, REST APIs, if you're able to use it, you can create a RESTful API for a web service so that you can implement CRUD operations. You can have authentication, authorization mechanisms, and even you can document the API endpoints. So if you're able to mix all these things and create a project, that will help you to stand out as a proper API development project. This is another skill that you can showcase by doing this. So what I've done here is I've just given you a broad, diverse areas across which you can do projects to improve your portfolio, because it's all about showcasing a strong portfolio. So when people look at your resume, they should feel that, oh wow, this guy has done so many things across different areas using Python. So let me have a conversation with them to understand. That curiosity you need to create by creating a portfolio. That's exactly what I want you to achieve with the help of these things. Okay. So by including a mix of all these projects in your portfolio, you can actually showcase your proficiency in various aspects of your development, Python development, as I told you. And if you're able to document your projects really well, if you're able to articulate these projects really well, by giving some I mean, when you're sending across your resume, please give your GitHub link when you're explaining the project, because it's a PDF that you're sending. People can always click and go to the GitHub link and check it out. Give a proper project description, what you have done. Like usually I suggest this structure of aim, method, and result. What is the problem, that is the aim that you are trying to achieve? What is the approach that you have taken? Which frameworks that you have used? Which libraries you have used? And what is the impact you have created? If you're able to showcase your portfolio with these kind of structured statements, then your portfolio would look as a solid thing. And if you have done some demo videos, please put that across. That is also very important. That will showcase that you have got a very solid resume. Okay, good. So this is what I wanted to primarily cover for you. If you have any questions, feel free to put it across in the chat. I'll be happy to answer it for you. I hope this 1 hour webinar is able to answer most of the queries that you might have in your mind of what is happening in the market and how things are, how you can play a role in getting to these roles. That's very important. So I'll take a pause here. Before we close the session, I would like to know if there are any questions so that I can answer. Thank you, Nerd. I hope it was useful for you. Thanks for the compliment. Good. Thank you very much then. That was a wonderful interaction with all of you. Looking forward to more webinars and more interactions with all of you to help you in your journey to acquire the best job in the market in the Python space. Thank you. Take care then. See you in the next session. Thank you.